When it comes to NBA superstar Kevin Durant, he's one of the few athletes in sports who will go head-on against his critics and confront them directly. And recently on Twitter, KD confronts some critics of him head-on in a Twitter space labeled Kevin Durant is not top 5. And of course, I can't play the entire 40-minute segment, but I'm going to give you guys my 4 biggest takeaways from this Twitter live and the big time gotcha moments. Now, of course, this Twitter space being labeled Kevin Durant isn't top 5, you guys can guess what the topic was and what the discussion was about. And one of the first quotes Kevin Durant had defending himself that I really didn't buy was saying fans and the media factoring in team success is quote-unquote trash and not how you consume basketball. This right here, quite simply, is Kevin Durant having a major coping moment. Because he knows deep down, team success for him, players before him, and after him will always matter. And compared to today's players, the top tier cream of the crop, the top 5 guys, what has Kevin Durant done post Golden State that warrants him being a top 5 player? 2020, missed the entire season. 21, lost the Bucks. 22, was beat 4-0 by Boston in the first round. And this year, once again, lost in the second round. And even worse than that, in this time span, he's been on 2 different teams with multiple All-Stars. In Brooklyn, having Harden and Kyrie, and in Phoenix, having Booker, CP3, as well as DeAndre Ayton. If you're a top 5 player with that amount of talent, having only 2 playoff series wins in nearly 5 years is unacceptable. And simply put, if any other superstar had this lack of success over a 5-year period, they'd be grilled and crucified relentlessly. And looking at KD's own career, it proves even he knows winning matters for player rankings, all-time rankings, and current rankings. As if it didn't, why did he go to Golden State? Of course, it was for championships. Why did he go to Brooklyn? To win without Steph Curry. And while in Brooklyn, why did he demand a trade to leave that team? Of course, to find a better spot to win. If basketball to Kevin Durant was only about quote-unquote hooping, he never leaves OKC, Golden State, or even Brooklyn. Once again proving KD's own actions show he knows winning factors into everything. Now, looking at the last 2 years, in terms of playoff success, individual play plus winning, KD's resume is pretty spotty. Individually, averaging 28, 8, and 6 on 45% shooting with 1 series win. To be a top 5 player, Kevin Durant has to be better than all the following players. Nikola Jokic, who's averaged 30, 13, and 9, won the championship. Steph Curry, 29, 6, and 5, also won a championship. Giannis, who averaged 30, 14, and 7. Luka Doncic, averaged 32, 10, and 6, made the West Finals. Tatum, who averaged 26, 8, and 6, made the Finals and East Finals. Butler, who averaged 27, 7, and 5, and just like Tatum, made 1 Finals and 2 East Finals. And of course, Booker, KD's current teammate over the past 2 years, has averaged 29, 6, and 5, while being better than Kevin Durant in both their series together. That is 7 NBA stars who in the past 2 years have been just as good as Kevin Durant with more success or equal success. So really, in summary, Kevin Durant saying fans who value winning are trash is code word for I haven't won anything post Steph Curry. In Brooklyn and Phoenix, I've been an absolute failure. And what he's trying to avoid is being held to the same standard of every superstar I just named. And after being confronted heavily about his playoff failures, super team failures, he responded with this, quote, I mean, some things could be that simple. Are you just good or not? I mean, a lot of people have seen it for a long time, brother. It's okay. Again, a weird deflection, a sneaky kind of wraparound of the elephant in the room. There's no question Kevin Durant is a great player. Not a good player, a great player. But being compared to the best in the world, being top 5, the standard isn't good. And like I just showed you guys, from everyone from Jokic to Booker, those guys in the playoffs have had more success and made better individuals over the past 2 seasons. And for KD not being top 5, what I would factor in is number 1, recent playoff play, number 2, the absurd teammate help, and number 3, the lack of winning. This is not a question of whether Kevin Durant is a good basketball player. The question is, based off his recent history, is Kevin Durant a top 5 player? Not top 10, top 15, but top 5. And one thing we have to acknowledge is that KD is getting older and his play in the playoffs has been slipping ever so slightly. As in 2022, entering the playoffs, he was shooting an absurd 51.8%. But in the playoffs, that fell to an abysmal 38.6%. Look at 2023. Entering the playoffs, he was shooting 56% on an all-time rate. But in the playoffs, once again, fell nearly 10 percentage points to 47.8%. And to add insult to injury, Devin Booker, his teammate, outplayed him versus the Clippers, averaging 37, 6, and 5, and also versus Denver, averaging 31, 8, and 5. And one thing I said earlier about Kevin Durant, in this debate, he was really kind of sneaky and slimy about things he said. And one thing that really caught me, after being fact-checked and confronted with his playoff failures, he basically retreated back to, well, these lists don't mean anything, and I don't really care. If Kevin Durant doesn't care about lists, what fans think, why is he in this Twitter live space with fans in the first place? At this point, Kevin Durant is lying through his teeth. As we all know on social media, he is one of the most sensitive superstars of all time. And he 100% cares about rankings, what fans say about him, and what the media thinks. As if he didn't, he wouldn't have secret burners or respond to everyone with a negative comment. And using KD's own words against him, back in 2017 after winning the championship, he said that ring he thought would have fans put him above LeBron James as the best player in the world. Once again proving Kevin Durant himself in 2017 cared about fans' opinions, their rankings, and of course, championships. All things 5 years later, he quote-unquote says he doesn't care about, which you all know is a flat-out lie. Now, the last KD quote that really caught me from this live was saying at the end of the day, these rankings, it's all personal opinion about your favorite players. And he even went as far as saying, there's too much criteria to even keep up with. Hold up one second. Is Kevin Durant talking about criteria for ranking players? Because earlier on, he said fans' criteria was complete trash. Right here, he's admitting he knows the criteria and the overall standard for great players. And like I said earlier, when it comes to being a top 5 player currently, winning, playoff success, and playoff play are the 3 major factors. And to make a larger point, if you wonder why Kevin Durant hates Charles Barkley, it's because Charles critiques him and tells it how it is. And Barkley's critiques, they cut deep mainly because they're true. KD can spin it however he wants, but there's one thing he can do on the court that can silence everyone. That being winning a championship without Steph Curry. And before this offseason, I would say doing that would just be a big legacy boost. But nowadays, he's 35 years old on the back end of his career, with Booker, Beal, and Ayton for the time being. Winning a championship with that cast, while being impressive, once again, it'd be kind of a stacked super team with 4 borderline All-Stars. The only person KD can blame at this point is himself. And sometimes, that's the hardest thing to do. But deflecting onto fans, saying they're the problem, they're trash, their criteria is meaningless, that's him lashing out and running from the truth. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.